Last week, the presidents of Florida state colleges all signed a letter vowing not to teach critical race theory and other racially charged ideas in the classroom. Scott Maxwell here. So, Scott, you thought about this one, didn't you?
To say the least, Rich. And one of the things that struck me was that these college presidents seem to be vowing not to teach things that I was pretty sure that they've never really been teaching in the first place. To give you an example, one line from the letter said that the presidents vowed to exile all classes that teach, quote, that systems of oppression should be the primary lens through which teaching and learning are analyzed. And I just had a hard time believing that schools like Valencia and Seminole State had ever taught such a thing.
Yeah, so you asked schools about this. Did they chime in on it?
They certainly did, rather quickly, in fact. And you may be shocked to learn that the presidents of both schools said they'd never taught such thing. And the thing is, I think if you step away from the hysteria and the culture warring about all this, I think most people know this. Florida's community colleges, which is what these things have traditionally been known as, they teach math, they teach English, they teach a whole bunch of vocational trades like manufacturing, construction, and IT. They aren't turning their carpentry classes into indoctrinations on critical race theory.
Yeah, so I guess the interesting thing is what's the point of this? Why make them jump through all these hoops?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to a term I used just a moment ago. It's more culture warring. Governor Ron DeSantis has really wallowed in it, and I guess to his in his defense, there are a lot of people in the state who seem to eat it up. He won by a large margin, and every time he talks about it, people get whipped into a frenzy of doing that. And even though in this case, what they're whipped up is by schools vowing to exercise radical ideas that aren't there in the first place.
Yeah, but what about as far as racial issues go? I mean, they need to be and should be talked about in classes. Is this still going on?
Yeah, and I think some of them are. As a matter of fact, there have discussions. There have been since the beginning of time, I would say, in any academia settings. Professors might discuss something like implicit bias. That's the notion that all of us have some generalizations or stereotypes in our minds, even if we don't realize it. Now, that's hardly a radical concept. Even I found a piece of Scientific American has written about it as a topic that most people need to consider. And I don't think that the average Floridian really finds that terrifying. But if you throw out a thoughtful point like that, it doesn't whip people into the frenzy. So instead, we get people, state colleges vowing not to teach things that they haven't in the first place.